Hey Rayleigh, and welcome back to another message from your father. So first off, we are watering the yard now, so you will definitely be hearing the sprinkler hitting the window, so I apologize for that right behind me. But today we are looking at 1 Chronicles 8 through 10. Now, if you remember, we have been looking at the genealogies, the family lines, specifically Levi, Issachar, Benjamin, Naphtali, we looked at Ephraim, we looked at Asher, and then we took a special look at the musicians as well. So today, sprinkler, don't know if you can hear that. So today we are looking at specifically Saul's genealogy. We're going to be looking at the people of Jerusalem, and then we're also going to see yet another account. I think the other account we saw was in 1 Samuel of Saul's death. So Saul's taking his own life, and we'll talk very, very briefly about that. But 1 Chronicles 8 is where we're going to start. So 8 through 10 in chapter 8. Benjamin was the father of Bela, his firstborn, Ashbeel, the second son, Ahara, the third, Noah, the fourth, and Rapha, the fifth. The sons of Bela were Adar, Gera, Abihud, Abishua, Naaman, Ahoah, Gera, Shehuphan, and Huram. These were the descendants of Ehud, who were the heads of their families, living in Geba, and were deported to Manahath. Naaman, Ahijah, and Gera, who deported them, and who was the father of Uzzah and Ahihud. Sons were born to Shahiram in Moab, after he had divorced his wives Husham and Bara. By his wife Hodesh, he had Jobab, Zeba, Misha, Malcham, Jeaz, Saka, and Mirma. These were his sons, heads of families. By Hushim, he had Abitub and Elpal. The sons of Elpal, Eber, Misham, Shemed, who built Ono and Lod with its surrounding villages, and Beriah and Shema, who were heads of families of those living in Hilon, and who drove out the inhabitants of Gath. Ahio, Shishak, Jeremoth, Zabida, Arad, Eder, Michael, Ispa, and Joah were sons of Beriah. Zebediah, Meshullam, Hizki, Heber, Ishmerai, Isliah, and Jobab were the sons of Elpal. Jakim, Zikri, Zabdi, Elionai, Ziliathai, Eliel, Adonai, Beriah, and Shimrath were the sons of Shimei. Ishpan, Eber, Eliel, Abdon, Zikri, Hanan, Hananiah, Elam, Anathelijah, Ephrathai, and Penuel were the sons of Shishak. Shemarashai, Shedariah, Athaliah, Jereshiah, Elijah, and Zikri were the sons of Jehoram. All these were the heads of families, chiefs, and listed in their genealogy, and they lived in Jerusalem. Jaleel, the father of Gibeon, lived in Gibeon. His wife's name was Maacah, and his firstborn son was Abdon, followed by Zur, Kish, Baal, Ner, Nadab, Gedor, Ahio, Zechar, and Mikloth, who was the father of Shimei. They too lived near their relatives in Jerusalem. Ner was the father of Kish, Kish the father of Saul, and Saul the father of Jonathan, Malchishua, Abinadab, and Eshbal. The son of Jonathan, Merib-Baal, who was the father of Micah. The sons of Micah, Pithon, Melech, Tereah, and Ahaz. Ahaz was the father of Jehoiada. Jehoiada was the father of Alameth, Asmaveth, and Zimri. And Zimri was the father of Mosa. Mosa was the father of Benai, Rapha, his son, Elisha, his son, and Aziel, his son. Aziel had 6 sons. These were their names: Azrikam, Bokeru, Ishmael, Shariah, Obadiah, and Hanan. All these were the sons of Aziel. The sons of his brother Eshek: Ulam, his firstborn, Jeush, his second son, Eliphalet, the third. The sons of Ulam were brave warriors who could handle the bow. They had many sons and grandsons, 150 in all. All these were the descendants of Benjamin. Chapter 9. All Israel was listed in the genealogical records listed in the book of the kings, or records in the book of the kings of Israel. The people of Judah were taken captive to Babylon because of their unfaithfulness. Now, the first to resettle on their own property in their own towns were some Israelites, priests, Levites, and the temple servants. Those from Judah, from Benjamin, and from Ephraim and Manasseh who lived in Jerusalem were Uthai, son of Ammihud, the son of Omri, the son of Imri, the son of Benai, a descendant of Perez, son of Judah. Of the Shilonites, Asahiah, the firstborn, and his sons. Of the Zerahites, Jeuel. The people from Judah numbered 690. Of the Benjamites, Salau, son of Meshullam, the son of Hodiva, the son of Hasanah. Ibneh, son of Jeroham, Allah, son of Uzi, the son of Mikri, and Meshullam, son of Shephatiah, the son of Reuel, the son of Ibnijah. The people from Benjamin, as listed in their genealogy, numbered 956. All these men were heads of their families. Of the priests, Jerediah, Jehoiarib, Jachin, Azariah, son of Hilkiah, the son of Meshullam, the son of Zadok, the son of Marioth, the son of Ahitub, the official in charge of the house of God. Adahiah, son of Jeroham, the son of Pashur, the son of Malchijah, Maccasai, son of Adil, the son of Jazariah, the son of Meshullam, the son of Mishlemeth, the son of Immer. The priests who were heads of families numbered 1,760. They were able men, responsible for ministering in the house of God. Of the Levites, Shemaiah, son of Hashab, the son of Azrikam, the son of Hashabiah, a Merarite, Bakbakar, Haresh, Galal, and Mattaniah, son of Micah, the son of Zikri, the son of Asaph, Obadiah, son of Sheremiah, the son of Galal, the son of Jeduthun, and Berechiah, son of Asa, the son of Elkanah, who lived in the villages of the Netophathites. The gatekeepers, Shallum, Akab, Talmon, and Ahiman, and their brothers, Shallum, their chief, being stationed at the king's gate on the east up to the present time. These were the gatekeepers belonging to the camp of the Levites. Shallum, son of Korah, the son of Abisaph, the son of Korah, and his fellow gatekeepers from his family, the Korathites, were responsible for guarding the thresholds of the tent, just as their fathers had been responsible for guarding the entrance to the dwelling of the Lord. In earlier times, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, was in charge of the gatekeepers, and the Lord was with him. Zechariah, son of Meshlemiah, was the gatekeeper at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Altogether, those chosen to be gatekeepers at the threshold numbered 212. They were registered by genealogy in their villages. The gatekeepers had been assigned to their positions of trust by David and Samuel the seer. They and their descendants were in charge of guarding the gates of the house of the Lord, the house called the tent. The gatekeepers were on the four sides, east, west, north, and south. Their brothers in their villages had to come from time to time and share their duties for 7-day periods. But the four principal gatekeepers, who were Levites, were entrusted with the responsibilities for the rooms and treasures in the house of God. They would spend the night stationed around the house of God because they had to guard it. They had to take charge of the key for opening it each morning. Some of them were in charge of the articles used in the temple service. They counted them when they were brought in and when they were taken out. Others were assigned to take care of the furnishings and all the other articles of the sanctuary, as well as the flour and wine and the oil, incense, and spices. But some of the priests took care of mixing the spices. A Levite named Mattaniah was firstborn son of Shallum the Korahite, and was entrusted with the responsibility for baking the offering bread. Some of their Kohathite brothers were in charge of preparing for every Sabbath the bread set out on the table. Those who were musicians, heads of Levite families, stayed in the rooms of the temple and were exempt from other duties because they were responsible for the work day and night. All these were heads of Levite families, chiefs as listed in their genealogy, and they lived in Jerusalem. Jael, the father of Gibeon, lived in Gibeon. His wife's name was Maacah, and his firstborn son was Abdon, followed by Zur, Kish, Baal, Ner, Nadab, Gedor, Iho, Zechariah, and Mikloth. Mikloth was the father of Shimeam. They too lived near the relatives in Jerusalem. Ner was the father of Kish, Kish the father of Saul, and Saul was the father of Jonathan, Malchishua, Abinadab, and Eshbaal. The son of Jonathan, Merib-Baal, who was the father of Micah. The sons of Micah, Pithon, Melech, Tereah, and Ahaz. Ahaz was the father of Jada. Jada was the father of Alameth, Asmaveth, and Zimri. And Zimri was the father of Mosa. Mosa was the father of Benai, Rephaiah, his son, Elihash, his son, and Aziel, his son. Aziel had 6 sons, and these were their names: Azrikam, Bokeru, Ishmael, Shariah, Obadiah, and Hanan. These were the sons of Aziel. Chapter 10. Now, the Philistines fought against Israel, and the Israelites fled before them, and many fell slain on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines pressed hard after Saul and his sons, and they killed his sons Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua. The fighting grew fierce around Saul, and when the archers overtook him, they wounded him. Saul said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and abuse me." But his armor-bearer was terrified and would not do it, so Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When the armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he too fell on his sword and died. So Saul and his 3 sons died, and all his house died together. When all the Israelites in the valley saw that the army had fled and that Saul and his sons had died, they abandoned their towns and fled, and the Philistines came and occupied them. The next day, when the Philistines came to strip the dead, they found Saul and his sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. They stripped them and took his head and his armor and sent messengers throughout the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news among their idols and their people. They put his armor up in the temple of their gods and hung up his head in the temple of Dagon. When all the inhabitants of Jabesh-Gilead heard of the things the Philistines had done to Saul, all their valiant men went and took the bodies of Saul and his sons and brought them to Jabesh. Then they buried their bones under the great tree in Jabesh, and they fasted 7 days. Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He did not keep the word of the Lord, and even consulted a medium for guidance, and did not inquire of the Lord. So the Lord put him to death, and turned the kingdom over to David, son of Jesse. So again, we see that retread, or that retelling of Saul's story. And I think that's interesting, but I think I've mentioned this before, but we see that part there where it tells us in 10, I think 13 and 14, I feel like that's right, where Saul is the reason that he is punished is because he consulted a medium and because he wasn't obedient of what God wanted. And that's really interesting because we see this handling in the Old Testament as different from what's in the New Testament. And what I mean by that is God had Saul killed by himself, by his own hand, but had him killed. And that's why he was punished. And so it's interesting because what we see here is descriptive of what's happened. We see the reason for why Saul had acted and the reason why God had that action take place. But we know now, living in times after Jesus, that God doesn't always punish that. So it's interesting. We're left with the descriptive in the Bible versus the prescriptive, aka what has happened versus maybe what should always happen. So just because something is in the Bible doesn't mean that that's how it's going to happen every time. Some things are just descriptive and some things are prescriptive, saying, hey, this should happen every time. This is how you are to live. This is how you are to walk. But there are very specific things that are just telling us story and narrative-wise what's happened. And that's why God sometimes chooses to act this way, is this is a description of what God has done versus being a prescription of what God will do always and every time and in the future. I mean, that's the same reason, too, why we look at some healings in the New Testament. And then today we're left with this grappling of, well, shouldn't God be healing every single time? Why can't I heal like the disciples or heal like Jesus? Well, again, we have descriptive versus prescriptive. So it's really interesting there. And my prayer for you, Rayleigh, is that you would realize that. And I think there are many people out there who will say God is going to heal no matter what, every single time. And then we're kind of left with, well, what happens if I pray for this person so incredibly fervently, and I fast and I do all of this, and God hasn't brought healing? Well, I mean, I think that's really interesting too, because we see the thorn in the flesh as well. And we see that God doesn't always heal. And why would that be? Why would God choose not to heal? I'm not going to go on a big tangent, but that's worth something that's looking into, really. And I guess my short answer for that is there someone who could benefit from seeing your struggles, from seeing any difficulty that you're going through? Could they see how you're handling that in a godly manner and therefore want to come to God themselves? Anyway, again, don't want to get on a huge tangent, but that's a really, really big point. Know that I'm praying for you and I love you so much. Anyone else watching, thank you for putting up with the tangent as well, and we'll plan on seeing you tomorrow. Have a good one.